Hola, como esta? And bienvenidos to this week's episode of Through the Gears. I'm Wyatt Watson, and welcome in as we take a look at the best bets for the NASCAR Cup Series inaugural trip to Mexico City at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. We are back in the green this week after a rough week at Nashville Superspeedway. We got 7.5 units on the board thanks to a couple of prop bets of Zane Smith and Ty Gibbs getting a top 10, as well as a Twitter pick on my Twitter, Wyatt W Racing, with Denny Hamlin getting the win. I had him at a top 3 before the race began. So kudos to all y'all who were following along all week long, and we made a little bit of money there. We're close, though, to nailing the win with William Byron and Chris Buescher, who both were in solid contention all race long. But we got to move past that and onto the second road course of the NASCAR Cup Series season. Again, at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. The first time we'll ever see these Cup Series cars on here. And the first time NASCAR as a whole has been back here since 2008. As always, be sure to leave a like and a comment, and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible on the YouTube video. And subscribe always to Front Stretch and Front Stretch Plus for more racing content. Without further ado, let's nail some of these caliente bets as we go through the gears. So starting it out, we have Shane Van Gisbergen at plus 375 to be the favorite. And compared to when we took him at Coda last time around, he was a 6-1 favorite. Being that because most of the Cup Series field had some experience racing on Coda. Well, SVG, to my knowledge, hasn't raced on Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. In fact, there's 5 other people that have raced on this track before in any racing series, that is, compared to SVG, who spent his time in the Australian ranks racing on those style tracks in the V8 supercars. You have Michael McDowell 30-1 who ran in a separate series. You had AJ Allmendinger, who was in Champ Car. You had Kyle Busch, who was winning at this track. I'd say Denny Hamlin, but he is not going to be at this track. He's with his baby and his family of 5 now. That'll be Ryan Truex replacing him in the 11 ride, just so you don't put your money on Denny Hamlin because he's not going to be there. And you still got still got others as well. Daniel Suarez, he's not raced on the road course much, rather the mile and a half layout of this track. And has been around here a lot in terms of just growing up and racing in the Mexican stock car scene before coming up to America. And the other guy on that list is Brad Keselowski, who spent his days racing with Junior Motorsports early back in 07 and 07 with a separate team, and then 08 in his first year with the team. Had to finish in 9th there, but he hasn't been as great as he once was on the road courses. Brad Keselowski entering the weekend with 250-1 odds for the number 6 team. You'd rather look at his teammate Chris Buescher in this race if you're going to go the RFK route. But yeah, going back to SVG, really you got to look at his numbers on the road courses. He's only got one top 5 on the season or on his career. If you take out the Chicago street course, not a road course, he's only one top 5 in the Cup Series. And this will be his second go around with Trackhouse, or really his third go around with Trackhouse, because he did race the Indianapolis road course at one point in his inaugural in his first 2023 season when he won the street course, then added the Indy road course that year. So SVG, I mean, no wins on traditional road courses. He's finished top 20 in every race. He's top 10. You can't look obviously at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez specifically because nobody's raced here in this era of NASCAR at all, nor the Xfinity Series or anything like that. So you just go off of road course talent. That's why SVG's at plus 375. But You forget that. I mean, Christopher Bell won at Coda. William Byron's won at Coda in the past as well. Kyle Larson's great at Sonoma. Tyler Reddick was great. Tyler Reddick was great last year and the last couple of years at road courses, but he really hasn't shown that pace with 2311 this year. You have Chase Elliott, who was great at one time. AJ Allmendinger, who's always a threat. Kyle Busch, who looked great at Coda this year. When you have SVG at that low of a number at plus 375 with a competition in this field, it's hard to take him, and I won't be taking him personally unless that number rises after practice and qualifying. And you got to also look at the weather too. There's some weather that could potentially affect the race as well. I mean, you've already seen it with some of the pictures from Bob Hawkers, from Jeff Gluck, and how heavy of the rain it was out there. It could get torrential. I mean, it also could have lightning as well with the thunderstorms. How it is here in the more southern climates, so it could cause a delay anyhow. And if it's too wet with these bulky stock cars, like it was at Coda at one point, you could also see them hold off and not race in the rain because of the longer straight on the pit straight for the track. So SVG plus 375. Christopher Bell clocks in at 8-1, a little bit of an improvement from the books over the last couple of days. That odd is off Bet Rivers. Bell coming off the Coda win, you got to look at him for sure with how good he's shown to be on road courses in the past. I mean, specifically at Coda, he was great, but it's hard not to take Christopher Bell here at Mexico City. His average finish on road courses is 10.3 with 2 wins in the next gen era. And there's nothing telling me that he won't compete for a third one here. And that 8-1 number is great. I think you got to capitalize off the books overselling SVG here on some of the favorite picks. Like you have Tyler Reddick and Kyle Larson, very understandable picks. Larson opened up as a 10-1. He's 8.5-1 now off FanDuel. I think that's very solid to take Kyle Larson at that number. But if I'm gonna go for a little bit extra value and a guy that's won on road courses himself, I'd go William Byron. Byron is a 9-1 favorite. Byron has won recently in 2023 at Coda, like I've mentioned before, and his average finish at 13.3. He's also got another win at Watkins Glen. I like William Byron just slightly better because Kyle Larson's kind of the do or die, or he's all or nothing when it comes to some of these weeks. And in the last couple of weeks, Kyle Larson has not been up front. His teammate William Byron has been up front. The third Hendrick guy of the bunch of Chase Elliott. Look, this is in 2021 and he won't anymore. He's struggled. He's gone over a year without winning a race, and we can also attribute that win being Texas Motor Speedway and how crazy it got in that race. But Elliott has been overtaken by way too many people, or way too many drivers, that have shown to be faster on the road courses. Again, like I'd rather take an AJ Allmendinger or Kyle Busch with more value that has been running up front at these road course races. Like I'm not privy to go and chase Elliott with his 11-1 number off Bet MGM because of that. And I mean, it's tough to take Chase Elliott in these races. You have to really have the hunt. He's been fast on select ovals, and I haven't seen him up front competing for the win at a road course in a lot, and like Watkins Glen, Indy road course when Michael McDowell beat him. Again, Michael McDowell's at 30-1, and he's in a 71 car, which wasn't too shabby with Zane Smith at Watkins Glen specifically. And it's Michael McDowell we're talking about, a guy who I also mentioned has experience here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez here in Mexico City. It's tougher to take Chase Elliott here because, again, no experience on this road course, struggling right now. I would just pass on the number 9 team. Going down a little bit more, AJ Allmendinger, 14-1. Of course, the Roval winner, multi-time road course winner over his career. He has experience here on this track from his champ car days, running an open wheel. 14-1 is a very solid number for AJ Allmendinger to do well here. And it's a no-brainer to keep him on your mind going into this weekend. I will certainly be watching and seeing where the 16 crew in Colic Racing will be placed and where they'll be and how fast they will be on this course. Kyle Busch, on the other hand, 16-1. I also have my eye on. He impressed me at COTA to the point where, man, I like, where did he come from? In a sense, I mean, he's been solid at COTA in the past, but I think that race highlighted where Kyle Busch is really shown to be a true contender in at these road course races, where I have to start respecting the number 8 crew once again and coming here to a track where he, I guess you could call him the defending winner since he won the last race at this track back in 2008. I think it's pretty safe to say I will be keeping a close eye on the number 8 team all weekend long. And then you got the hometown kid, Daniel Suarez at 17-1. Look, I like Daniel Suarez. I like the energy that crowd is going to have. This just simply hasn't been his year. He's sub 30s in the points. He has a second place finish at Vegas, and boy howdy, if he won that race at Vegas over Josh Berry, then we'd be looking at a topsy-turvy playoff situation here. But instead, you have Daniel Suarez coming into this race in his hometown at 17-1. Of course, he's going to want to show out and do well at this track. He is formidable. I'll say he's formidable at road courses specifically. I mean, COTA, he probably should have been contending for the win here in 2022, I believe, when his teammate Chastain won. And he's won previously in 2022 at Sonoma. So he has a road course win under his belt. It's just, I don't like your teammates SVG. And they're prioritizing probably getting him in the playoffs with how good he's historically been on road courses and his background. So the next coming of Marcus Ambrose, for God's sake. Suarez is just 17-1. He feels like he's 1 foot out the door already. And that evaluation by the books, I think, yeah, like they're giving a little bit of credit to the hometown kid here, but I think it's kind of that's kind of a baity number a little bit. And I think it's frankly too high. If it was 30-1, I'd consider a little bit of maybe a 0.5 unit bet or something, but 17-1 out. I mean, you got the same odds with Chris Buescher, who won a road course last year at Watkins Glen, who is the most consistent guy at an average finish of 7.9 on road courses, has top 20 in all but one race, and top 10 in 13 of the 16 races on road courses. Chris Buescher is a much safer bet going into any of this. And Chris Buescher flat out beat SVG on that final lap pass at Watkins Glen. I mean, Chris Buescher knows how to win on these road courses. So I'd advise not going Daniel Suarez. I'd rather go Chris Buescher if I'm going to go be frankly honest with y'all here. Ross Chastain at 20-1 again, won at COTA way back in 22 at the start of the next gen era, first road course race of this era. 20-1 isn't enticing enough to look at him. McDowell 30-1 definitely could be a player. I'm going to shout him out again. Carson Hocevar at 29-1. This kid is unbelievable anywhere we go. He finished top 3 in the Watkins Glen race. He qualified very well at COTA, had a lot of pace. He just has to hone it and just use that craft, that raw talent he has on the road courses, and save his stuff for the race. Because I think that's what bit him at COTA when he was figuring out how to race that car there. I think if he goes back on his notes and builds off that experience he got at COTA, I think Carson, in his last rookie year, of course, I think he can do great things on Sunday as well. To go quickly through some of the other honorable mentions, yeah, Alex Bowman at 33-1 is the Chicago Street Course winner, and has raced decently at at road course in the past, but I think unless rain does affect, I don't think Bowman will be in that contention. Chase Briscoe, great Xfinity road course racer, hasn't really shown that yet in this ride, although he's only had one attempt in this ride before. Ty Gibbs 35-1 can be a sneaky pick. Austin Cindric 40-1. Ryan Blaney at 40-1 as well. The Roval winner from a while back, was it 2018, 2019, when Truex and Johnson got into their tangle. Don't think he'll be a factor for the win, but he could be a good prop pick. Joey Logano at 55-1, and then long shots at Todd Gilliland 150-1, Bubba Wallace 200-1, and so on. You can see on the bottom of the screen, there's a lot of good options higher up on the board. I don't think going past Todd Gilliland and Bubba Wallace would be worth going for the race win at all. But you never know with how things could happen, especially if weather plays a factor on Sunday afternoon. So going into my picks for the weekend, who do I have for my betting card for Mexico City? Well, first of all, I got to lead off with Coda's winner, Christopher Bell, at 8-1. I think it's a no-brainer to take him here off Bet Rivers. It makes too much sense to take Joe Gibbs Racing here. I mean, they are coming off the Michigan win. Christopher Bell has shown the pace on road courses in the past, and I think this is technical. It's got enough technical parts where that 20 car really flourishes on this layout, in my humble opinion. And yeah, again, SVG at plus 375, but the price of admission is too high to take SVG here for the win. And I mean, if he wins, cool. Like prop bets could certainly play a big factor in getting us profit, just like it did last week. And of course, follow on Twitter. I mean, things could obviously change with the data we get from practice and qualifying, and we'll see what happens once the weekend gets kicked off on Saturday, thanks to the I guess still Friday, I believe, for the Cup guys, but some of the Xfinity guys from that planes situation that happened. Shout out Ryan Ellis, who was on happy hour with the guys. I hope he hopefully got there safely and soundly to get the weekend going. But again, 8-1 for Bell with a 3-unit bet off Bet Rivers, I think is the way to go for the number 20 team. I'm going to take him again. Even though he hasn't outright won, William Byron has been on the cusp of winning time and time again. He's at 9-1. I'd give him 2.5 units there off FanDuel. It's going to happen eventually. It's not like it's my buddy Tino. I'm not tripping like it's Martin Truex Jr. here, who's on the eve of his career. This is William Byron in his prime. It's Rudy Fugle, who is a solid guy on the box for him. They're going to get, and I know they ran out of fuel a la Dale Earnhardt Jr. Almost, except he did lose the lead at Michigan at the end. Valiant fight to try to win that race. But Byron absolutely can get the job done here if they have the perfect weekend. And 9-1, you're not going to see any better this weekend. Let me tell you that for the 24 team. Next that I got is Kyle Busch at 16-1. Kyle Busch has struggled mightily on the ovals, but this seems like his strength, and he could possibly ring his way into a win here at Mexico City with the previous experience he has on this track. I think the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez will fit this team well, and with how fast he was in Coda, I think you have to translate that into a bet here on your cards this weekend at 16-1. And shoot, that number could go up higher with how fast or lack of pace that he has. And it's going to be interesting to see if we can get good passing opportunities at this track with this car, like we saw at Coda earlier in the season. And then finally, I will go with Carson Hocevar at 29-1. Listen, I didn't have him on my card last week, and I said I'd be looking at Carson Hocevar on a week-to-week basis. It was like 20-1 last week. It was just not worth taking, in my opinion, even though You almost made me eat my words there, but the Michigan curse. I told you guys, the Michigan curse will strike on those who are lacking, and that certainly did happen to Carson Hostvar. Unfortunately, felt bad for that, but 29 for especially for you guys that bet on him. But 29-1 here, I think is valiant to say the least. A 1 unit bet via FanDuel is what makes sense here for Carson Hostvar, and a massive payday if you hit on Carson Hostvar this weekend. And to reiterate, Kyle Busch, 16-1, 1 unit off FanDuel as well. So those are my 4 race winning picks. Moving on into the prop picks, I would go with William Byron's top 3, plus 310 at 2 units via FanDuel. William Byron, it's kind of like an insurance pick. I mean, Byron had one of the top 3 fastest cars at Michigan. He, I believe, got a top 3 at COTA as well. And I think the 24 team outright in the Hendrick stable is the most consistent all around when it comes to any of these tracks, but especially on the road courses. And Kyle Larson could certainly put his way up there in that number 5 and dominate potentially. But I think if you get offline here, you're gonna get in the grass, and anything can freaking happen once that happens. Pit crew, just mistakes all around from the 5 team. It's kind of ired my taste to put money on the 5 team unless we go to somewhere like a Bristol or like somewhere, or like maybe in Indianapolis, somewhere where Kyle Larson has shown to be, or Kansas where Kyle Larson has shown to be quick. I think 8.5 is still a solid number for the race win outright. And then, yeah, his top 3, his top 5 is certainly worth taking a look at for the number 5 team. He's plus 320 for a top 3. He's plus 150 for a top 5 on FanDuel and Bet Rivers, respectively. So it's worth looking at his numbers, and certainly if he qualifies well, that those numbers will go down, or even be on potentially my Twitter picks for sure. But for now, William Byron at the top 3 at plus 310 is worthwhile going to. Second of all, I'll be going back to back with Zane Smith here for a top 10. Pretty much doubled the odds at 14-1. Again, he has the top 10 at Watkins Glen, and he's been pretty good on the road courses in his Truck Series days with Front Row Motorsports. So, and his teammate Noah Gragson, who I'll also just go ahead and put him out here too, 11-1, 1 unit off FanDuel. Noah Gragson's value is crazy for a guy who just got a top 10 at COTA at 11-1. I'll take another unit. I'll take a unit on him for FanDuel, and then might as well round out the whole Front Row Motorsports crew of Todd Gilliland, who has 4 top 10s on road courses in the next gen era, including one at COTA and clutch fashion, by the way. Todd Gilliland top 10, a 9-1. I think putting a half unit on him as well could certainly work. And I think one of those Front Row Motorsports cars are going to hit on the top 10. Now, I'm about to say putting a unit down on all 3 of them, I think it's just a little bit too much. I think you just sprinkle a couple with a small bet, and then go heavy on the guy who looks solid all race long at COTA. And if he gets up, and if he qualifies up there, he certainly can stay up there for sure. So Byron top 3, 2 units at plus 310. Zane Smith's top 10 plus 1400, half a unit off FanDuel. Gilliland's top 10 at plus 900 at FanDuel at a half unit. And then Noah Gragson's top 10, 11-1 with a unit bet at FanDuel as well. All of them on FanDuel. So going into our final segment of the show, we'll look at something outside of even NASCAR, because you can look at the Xfinity Series and you got Connor Zilisch in that dang field. He's even to win the race. Unless you're going like top, like the craziest I could possibly go is like an Austin Green top 5 at 16-1. But Zilisch kind of kills it for me, because he's gonna be great. I mean, I didn't take him at COTA, and he came back from from a pit road penalty to win that race. He is inevitable when it comes to any of these road courses. And I mean, I'd be putting 4 or 5 units on him to win the race. And that's a lot of dough just to hope the road course god and Connor Zill is just going to win. Instead, I'm going to go to the IndyCar series, who have a showdown under the lights at Gateway. And my eye is on Lil David Malukas, who has been a god at this track. He's been amazing when it comes to it. He has a P2 here with Dale Coyne Racing. He's been fast here with Meyer Shank and looked like he could have won it over Will Power. And now he's with AJ Foyt Racing, who have a solid oval program with Team Penske backing. David Malukas is massively underrated for this race. And you have Joseph Newgarden, who is absolutely respectable at this place. He's owned the track, it seems like. But if anyone's going to knock him off, I mean, it'd be either Will Power or David Malukas, really, because they were both fighting and racing real hard for the win last season. Wish I could go there and see the action like I did last year. And I feel like David Malukas is going to get this first win this year at 11-1 odds off BetMGM. It's like the lock of the century. I'm calling David Malukas. He's going to win at this track. And 11-1 odds is absolutely diabolical if you're the sports books to have this guy who this is his best track on the schedule. They should have took a second look at David Malukas. He's going to do well here at St. Louis. And that'll do it for this episode of Through the Gears. Thank you all for joining me for my best bets for this weekend. Probably should have Tino Patingo on the show next week. Stay tuned to see what we have in store for next week's action of NASCAR betting. But hopefully we get it done here at Mexico City and get some dough and start another win streak. We were 4 deep before the Nashville catastrophe. So I'm excited to see what we got for this weekend. Be sure to check into all the latest for the Front Stretch Podcast Network, including the aforementioned happy hour that featured Ryan Ellis. Thankful to have him on the show there. And it was a great conversation between Troy Lyle, Michael Massey, and Dalton Hopkins about everything that happened with him in his top 10 finish at Charlotte, and even more from Michigan and the Mexico City trip for everybody, and the baby watch for Denny Hamlin that will result in Ryan Truex racing for him. By the way, he's 20-1 odds on Bet Rivers, the only place I could find Ryan Truex on the sports books. Of course, please gamble responsibly as well when gambling. Also, be sure to check into Brian Nolan with his podcast, Bringing the Heat. They had a special interview with Jeff Hammond, a long interview with Dalton Hopkins on his show, and then also Trey Lyle as guest on the show this week. And be sure to check in after the weekend's over with Stock Car Scoop immediately following this race here at Mexico City, and the Pit Straight with yours truly and probably Alex Gintz, Tom Blackburn, Christopher Hardy, a mixture of us three and our Formula One team as we cover what happened at the Canadian Grand Prix and the Bon Marino 500 at St. Louis. Thank you all for joining once again, and let's get some pesos at Mexico City.
Steven Stump of FrontStretch.com here. Come back for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.